Hi again, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. I am Dan Scott. It is great to have you with us. And for the second time in 3 episodes, we've got men's soccer coach Doug Allison here. And it is Doug Allison. How are you, sir?
Fine, thanks. I'm glad you spelled it right. It's completely spelled right this week. Well done.
Yeah, in both.
It's not Doug or dog or
yeah. Yeah, that was both embarrassing and hilarious. The last time we did it, if you the names at the bottom were correct, but the one on the left-hand panel read Dog Allison.
Yeah. Thanks, Don.
Yeah, I get called a lot worse than that, and I'm sure you do too. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, we've got everything spelled right, I believe, and ready to talk about not only the final game of the regular season and the upcoming Southern Conference tournament, where the Furman men's soccer team could be anywhere from the number 1 to the number 5 seed. It's really a funny stretch with one game remaining. But more importantly, we get to talk about what we do every year with Doug, and that is the Quinn game, which was originally scheduled for about 4 weeks ago, but Hurricane Helene caused the game cancellations, and thanks to the generous heart from the people at Mercer who agreed to do this. They were the Quinn Game opponent last year, weren't they?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Because we're home and away. So, But I called the coach there, Brad, and he was straight away. He goes, "Yeah, absolutely," because he loved it 2 years ago. In fact, they're trying to do something at their home field for a charity because this is great. I mean, it was something that everyone should try and do if they can, just to raise awareness. But we have a platform right now that we can use, and he was definitely all in, and he was excited actually to be able to do it again.
This has been obviously a difficult year for many people because of the effects of the hurricane and the fact that a couple of soccer games were affected by it in the grand scheme of things is very minor compared to what's going on in Western North Carolina especially. But having said that, you have 2 special games every season, the Quinn game and the Gray Griffin game, and both of those were affected by Hurricane Helene.
Yeah, we'd rescheduled this one, which I'm so glad to get in. We named the Gray Griffin game for the Wofford game last week as far as an MVP, which was ended up being Slade, but it really wasn't the full effect. I mean, Mr. Griffin was down here. We warmed up. We were just about to go out against Gardner Webb for the Gray Griffin game, and then the Lightning came, and that was a precursor to the storm, the hurricane. So compared to what people have been affected by, and we actually were just up at ETSU Saturday night and saw some of the devastation as we were traveling up there with the bus. It was just unbelievable to see what people have lost, and you know, it just so happens that, you know, as you go up, I'm glad our guys saw that and said, you know, we've seen a few trees down here and there, but to see houses in rivers and things like that and still being a mess being cleared up a month later, you know.
Right. Did you have to take an alternate route?
Yep, we were detoured a couple of times. The police were under the highways a couple of times. We had to get off ramps. We had to go through a couple of little towns and get back on. Buses were okay, but the 18-wheelers weren't allowed on some of the highways to go over the bridges. So, but it wasn't as bad as I think the women's soccer team went up 3 weeks before, and it was about 4.5 hours. We were about 2.5 hours. So then we got stuck up there. Then there was a lightning delay for our game Saturday night. So we were supposed to kick off at 6 and ended up about 7:30, and then got back at 1:30 in the morning. So on Sunday, so yesterday. So it's that's the traveling of college athletics, isn't it?
Now I'm sensing a pattern. Is it following you around?
I think so. It's a hurricane, yeah.
And
lightning rod, Dan.
Right, and in more ways than one. But despite all that, 7-3-3 overall, 2-1-1 in the league, and with the final regular season game of the year Saturday at Stone Stadium against Mercer for the Quinn game. As I mentioned, it's really amazing if you think about it. One game you could finish anywhere from the number 1 seed to the number 5 seed.
Yeah, it's either one or two. If we win against Mercer and if Greensboro beat ETSU, which could both happen, we'll be co-champions. If we were to lose and other results go the other way, we could be the 5th seed. So it's very, very close. Being such a small league of six teams, those 3 points are very, very important. And we actually played well since the break. In fact, we may need to schedule a 2-week break every year. I'm going to talk to Coach Bulwer about doing that, because we came back pretty strong on being 4-1-1 since then.
You were worried about that because you were playing really well
the game before against Charleston.
heading into the break.
That's right. It was a good game. We beaten the number 23 team in the country, Charleston, 4-2, and then we had that 2-3 week break of no games, which never happens. And then came back, and the boys have played well since. So happy with their consistency now. And could have easily got a win on Saturday night. We were winning 1-0, and then they ended up tying it up in the second half. But it's left up to us, still in our own hands as well, if we can win on Saturday.
It's nice to have that game where you have pretty much your destiny in your own hands in your home stadium.
In our home stadium, yeah, as Jason Donnelly likes to tell us, to play for championships. We are playing for a championship on Saturday night. And if the other game, Greensboro and ETSU, goes the right way, we could be co-champions. So we'll see. We've got to take care of our business first, and then see where we fall in the league to go into the conference tournament the following week.
How is the conference tournament set up now? Are there first-round games played in home stadiums?
Yep. Number 1 and 2 get byes, and they host the next 4 seeds. So on the following Friday, 1 and 2 will host. They'll watch the next teams play, and then they'll play those teams on this Sunday.
So you get a bye for the quarterfinal round.
Yep. So if you're 1 or 2, you get bye for the quarterfinals into the semis, and then hopefully onto the final. But again, it's one game at a time, and it's an exciting time of year. This is when the real student athletes really step up. I like this time of year.
One of your student athletes was a guest on the show week before last, Ivan Ajagwa. Just a remarkable young man. I enjoyed talking with him so much. One of your seniors that they've seen quite a bit in their 4 years here, haven't they?
Yes, it hasn't been easy. 4 years since COVID, their freshman year, and then getting a break there, and then lots of different things going on. But Ivan is quite a special player and quite a special person, more importantly. And I really thank him for, one of the things he said was he really thanked Callum Allison, my son, for helping him become the person he has become, faith-wise, prayer-wise, which is important. And he said his first year or so, he didn't really know if he could talk about it or what he believed, and then all of a sudden he's grown in his faith in the last couple of years. It was also lovely to see his parents over here and his aunt for senior night. They came over from Ghana and London, and they'd never been to campus, so for them to see him play his senior night and have seen the senior brunch was something special, and actually kind of reminded me of my journey when I was a young guy over at South Carolina. And my parents, actually, they never got to see me play. They could never afford it to get over, but they came for graduation. So, but it's nice to see them on campus, to see what their sons are going through.
Yeah, recruiting international students, which you obviously have a lot of experience and success with, is its own challenge anyway. And then you throw on top of that recruiting Ivan and everybody else in that class in COVID when they couldn't visit.
Yeah.
So as he and I chatted with him and the other players in that class, you had to make a decision and educate a guess on how well they were going to fit your program without ever seeing them play live, and they had to do the same thing in reverse, how this program was going to benefit them without ever stepping foot on campus during the recruiting process.
Yeah. But it was the same for everyone at that point, Dan. It wasn't just foreign kids. It was the same for everyone, because it was just a lot of videos, and Coach Tucker and I were going through tons of videos. But the good thing is some of our guys stayed for an extra year last year. They stayed because they had an extra year of eligibility. But, it wasn't easy, because you can see sometimes in videos if kids can play or not play, but you never know what the opposition's like, what the game's like. And I like to usually meet them or see them play live. But we had to take a chance on a couple of guys. But Ivan, we were very lucky with. I mean, he came through and he's certainly come through as a leader and a captain, along with Slade and Christian Kraus this year. Their leadership's been amazing. But Ivan, in particular, as a young man, he's not a young man anymore. He's an older man. But he came in as a kid, and again, as they graduate as young men and go out into this world and are prepared for the world, is the most important thing and the most important job I and our coaching staff have, is to let them experience good things, challenges, and then get through. And then when they graduate, they're prepared for anything. Any arena they go into, they're prepared for. And I love it when the parents see their sons during senior brunch and say, because we have them talk in front of the parents and grandparents, and it's such a special moment because there's not really many dry eyes in the place at that time. And they always say that they've come in as kids, but they're leaving as young men. And that, to me, is the biggest testament to what our program can do for student athletes.
And I know this is a radical statement and a radical way of thinking, but that's what college athletics is supposed to be about, isn't it?
You hope so.
Yeah.
That's what I believe, and that's what I'll keep doing until I'm never able to do it again. But you want to push these guys. You want to challenge them, and because they will have challenges when they leave, and to be husbands, to be fathers, to work in any arena, to have disappointments, to go through the many things they go through. But now they have a group of friends that they'll know forever, and they have alumni that they'll know forever, and they'll have a coaching staff that they'll know be behind them forever.
Because you're old enough to live forever, right?
I don't know if that's going to happen then. Let's move on from that one.
Yeah,
I feel like I've lived quite a long life so far.
Doug Allison with us as we talk Furman soccer again, and specifically the Quinn game. So, you do such a great job of coaching all of these young men, but there's one player that you've never been able to figure out how to stop, and that's Quinn. She scores at will every time she steps onto the Stone Stadium field,
Yeah.
and you have done nothing in the last 10 years to figure out how to stop her.
She can't. Well, the fact that she's practicing again this week, she's at school wearing her Furman stuff and wearing a Quinn Game stuff, and she's at school practicing this week. I think she was disappointed to hear that we may not be able to have the Quinn Game after the hurricane, but then her mom and dad, Kelly and McNeil, have really come through, and they're like, we're bringing her down. We're bringing the family down. We're going to make it happen. We can't miss this game. And Macca out there, you're awesome. I can't wait to see.
Yeah.
Luckily, we get to see him again, which is great. But to see Quinn and know that she's practicing and the joy she spreads every time she comes on campus, her hugs and her smile just light up every room and every facility. It's amazing.
On the off chance that somebody watching this doesn't know who Quinn is and what the Quinn Game is about, educate them.
It's for Down syndrome awareness. It's for kids with special needs, and it's not just for Quinn, although I'm not telling her that. I mean, she is the princess for the day, but she exudes happiness, fun, and the ability just to be able to do anything in life, no matter what happens. And between her and McNeil and Kelly, and then Nia Zambrano, whose son Joe comes to every game as well, and she's in charge of the Down Syndrome Alliance of the Upstate, and does an amazing job with the Buddy Walk and helping all those kids, particularly at Special Olympics and anything we've had. The soccer extravaganza we had last year, Nia was just a major factor in helping with that too. We'll be spreading the word again that these kids are amazing kids, and it's not just kids, it's youngsters all the way through adults, and they're hopefully going to be here on Saturday again, and just holding hands with our kids and the players from both Furman and Mercer, and hopefully they're here to spread the word and know that it's okay to come and approach these kids and talk to these kids and hug these kids and just wish them well, because they're amazing people. And I got to see David May, who's now on our board of trustees, the other day, and Emery, his son, played for us, and their other son, Wyatt, has Down syndrome in Kansas and in Wichita. And we talk about Wyatt all the time, and I think he's got to be about 21 now, Wyatt, and what he's doing and how his job is and how he's spreading joy and helping, and he got his first paycheck the other day.
Oh,
I think it was
nice.
about $60 or something. And David May showed me a picture of Wyatt's first paycheck and the big smile he had when he was going to deposit that paycheck. And I'm not sure what he bought, but he was so happy that he had his first paycheck. And I love that stuff. I absolutely love that stuff.
It was $60 worth of happiness,
Oh
whatever,
yeah,
whatever it
amazing,
was.
amazing.
Angela and I have been to the Quinn game, and it's incredible to see how it's grown from when you first started it, and pregame to see all of those youngsters and their parents and families out on the field soaking up the appreciation and everything that goes along with it, and then of course capped by Quinn doing what she does and scoring the ceremonial opening goal,
Yes, right.
I suppose. But just to see how it's grown, and September is Down syndrome.
October.
October is Down
Yep.
Syndrome Awareness Month.
Yep.
So you were able to get it inside the.
No, it's just missing it
Just
because it's
missing.
beginning of November.
Oh, that's
but,
right,
But
yeah.
McNeil said, let's. Who cares?
Do it anyway.
Yeah, who cares? We're gonna, there's gonna be some shirts. There's gonna be some bracelets for people that come in and to wear for acceptance. And McNeil's speech, and it's a brief speech you give beforehand with all the players and any kids that are there and anyone that's able to come early for the game just so you can meet these kids. But his speech every year is very simple and is accepting, being accepting of kids, of anyone, of race, color, need, whatever it is, but being accepting of people, and it's humbling. And he's just an amazing man. He's an alumni of ours. He's someone I recruited as a kid and came through our program, was a fantastic player, could have been drafted in the MLS, but ended up going into the medical world. He's up there in Winston-Salem now with his wife, Kelly, and their family. And now their son, Case, is becoming a good little soccer player and follows our videos and comes down. And it's great to see their family here. But McNeil is a champion for a cause that I think helping the whole educational system in North Carolina when he fought the courts and fought the system to actually have education and equipment and the funding and personnel to teach these kids and get them in the proper environment and make sure that they are educated. And once you hold a hand of one of these kids, you'll never change.
Does that stand as kind of a shining example of what you were just talking about a moment ago with what you hope and you strive for in this program you want to be great soccer players, you want to play for a championship, but you want to prepare them for the larger picture, the bigger picture of what life is going to hold. So when you see McNeil having both the joy and the challenge of having a Down syndrome daughter, and what he and his wife have done to fight not just for his daughter, but for Down syndrome children, special needs children throughout the state of North Carolina. And as you said, actually going to the courts, winning court battles to give them educational opportunities. I mean, isn't this a shining example of what you were just talking about?
Yeah, I mean, they fought the courts for 5 years. And it was a lot of time and energy, and it was so worth it. And I didn't know about this until Andy Kidd, one of our other alumni, again sent me a video of what McNeil was doing on a news show in North Carolina on the news, and then again it kind of transformed me as a coach. I mean, it wasn't just one of my former players who I see as a young player still. It was a dad. It was a husband. It was a dad fighting for his daughter, and it was just such an amazing moment. And you've had me. I mean, during COVID when we had your video sessions, we had an hour each. Remember? My feature was McNeil.
Right.
And you remember that, Dan. And that to me, was one of the best ones because I wasn't talking. It was McNeil. And you guys really got to know each other. And McNeil's message was amazing. And what an alumni for Furman. What an alumni for our soccer program. But our kids in the program need to know what's going on in the outside world because instead of being in this little Furman bubble, they can get out and they can see it. And we bring kids in for them. We bring alumni back to talk all the time and tell them about their journey. And I think it's really important that any alumni that comes back to a training session, they'll talk. And sometimes they're scared to come back, but I'm like, just tell us about your journey. What you did at Furman, what you did since you've to graduate, what you've done since, how's your journey, how's Furman prepared you for real life. And, seeing McNeil is a shining example of how our guys can go out and they can succeed, not just in the medical world, not just in the soccer world, not just in the business world, but in real life with his daughter. And that to me is a true champion, McNeil.
So let's get down to brass tacks here. Are you going to D Quinn up this time? You're going to try to keep her from scoring?
No, I mean we can't. I mean the only time she hasn't scored is when she was about 3, and McNeil carried her. And carried her in his arms, and he was carried, and then he forgot, and he shot, and he scored, and he was like, "That." But I said, "McNeil, it's okay. It's one of the only goals you scored." But the fact is, a Cronin scored, and show your daughter how to score. Since then, she runs and scores, and no one can stop her. There's no stopping Quinn.
And you said she's probably, 11 or 12 years old now, and it doesn't seem like it's been that long ago, but we had McNeil and his wife and Quinn up here in the booth. It's got to be 6 or 7 years ago for one of these, and she was just a little thing running around and basically running the show up here, and it's hard to fathom that she's that old now.
She was a wrecking ball that day, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
She was running around this little studio here. It was amazing, and it was just it's great. So I can't wait to see her. Can't wait to give her a hug, and she's such a personality, So, but I hope people show up. I hope we can win the game. And we won last year's Quinn game against Greensboro, which was a big game as well for a conference. So let's hope we get a win. But again, moreover, this is such an important thing about Down syndrome awareness and what we're trying to do in this program to show support and show awareness for such a good cause.
7 o'clock at Stone Stadium on Saturday night, right?
Yep.
The football team is on the road at VMI for a 1:30 kick. So if you're staying home and watching that game, hopefully you're listening to the radio broadcast. But you'll have plenty of time to get that football game in, however you do it, and get out to Stone Stadium. The Quinn game and seeing her and what's happening with the Down syndrome awareness is the big picture importance. But again, let's not overlook the fact that you have a chance to claim a share of a conference championship with a win, and if other things happen in your favor.
Yeah, this is an important game. And one thing I will say is, going back to the Quinn game and people out there is, I got an opportunity to talk at Open the Special Olympics a couple of years ago, which since COVID hasn't been on campus, and then when they reopened it, it was nice for people to ask me to open it, and I always question, why me? Why can I do this? How am I? Why are people asking me to do this? Why am I doing it? We just got back from England on a trip with the team, and we were shattered, and then all of a sudden they asked me to open the Special Olympics, and then I called my old teammate Jim Sonnefeld in South Carolina, my old teammate, and I said, who is one of my mentors and someone who I always seek advice from because he's very, very faith-based, someone that talks to people all the time through churches, and someone that I just, have in my life where I'm very, very fortunate to have. And I said to him, why should I do this? What should I do? And he said, absolutely. He said, if you get a chance to talk and there's one person listening and it means something to them and you raise awareness, or you can talk to them and it helps them and it gets them out of a tough time, he said, do it. And there ended up being a couple of thousand people here, from kids all over middle school, high school, elementary schools, and all the helpers and all the volunteers and all the Down syndrome. I knew so many kids. And then I talked, and then a lot of people came up to me after and said that was really cool. It was fun to see you up there. I didn't understand what you're saying, but it was nice to see you, And then remember what Jim said. I'm like, you know what? You should do it. If you have a chance to talk to kids, if you have a chance to have a platform to send a message to kids, to people, to give them hope, do it. I mean, take your time and do it while you have that opportunity.
Right.
And I'll never forget what Jim said to me. And it was like, if you have the chance, do it. If it's 10 people in the room and one hears it, that's great. If it's 2,000 and one hears it, still one person's heard it. And so I'll never forget that advice. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, it's something that my wife had told me on numerous occasions. She had been on, I think, 3 different international missions trips, one to the Dominican Republic, 2 to Mexico, before she and I went together on one in Canada back in 2017. And she said, you go with the hope and the intent of being a blessing to someone else. And that's usually what happens, because you're going to help fill a need in a certain situation. She said, but what happens is you come back being the one blessed because of what you saw, how you were able to help somebody, and seeing what God was able to do in those situations. And it sounds like that was kind of the same thing.
And there's a couple more examples. I mean, Jeff Coppins and Rick Slagle with back-to-back ministries have taken our team to Mexico, to Haiti to serve over there, and it's changed a lot of the kids in our program's lives. And and recently, Jody, my wife Jody, went with her church to Hendersonville to help after the hurricane, and then they served the food bank, and they served the workers here that came from all over the country to help clean up and stuff. And she came back saying, we need to serve more, because you get more out of it sometimes than they do. And it's not for that. It's just the feeling you get when you're helping is amazing. So Jody's teaching me a lesson as well.
Not the first one, I'm sure.
No, believe me, not.
Before we wrap up, what do you know? What can you tell us about this Mercer squad you're going to be facing on Saturday?
Very tough. They beat us in the championship game last year, if you remember, in the SoCon finals. So they're always very tough. They're a very athletic team. The coach is a good guy who can really work with his team. And again, Brad, thanks for agreeing to do the Quinn game on the last minute. But this is going to be a tough game. It's going to be very physical. But with 14 freshmen that we have here, they've never played against Mercer. So we'll see how they react to that game as well. But really proud of our squad, what they've done, and how they've gone through this 3 weeks off and then back, and then the hurricane and everything, and how they've really refocused. And I hope we can do well for Quinn and McNeil on Saturday.
So the game kicks off at 7 o'clock. What time will the Quinn ceremonies begin?
Probably about 5 to 7 that we'll start doing that, 5 to 7 o'clock, because it doesn't take long. McNeil's speech is never long, but it's poignant. And her goal that can take as long as it wants. If we delay that kickoff because Quinn's scoring, I'm fine with that. ESPN can come sue us a little bit for that, but that girl is scoring a goal. But come and cheer on our team as well, because it is a very, very important last game of the season, Dan. It's already here.
It's amazing how quickly it goes, isn't it?
Flies by, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's been a really, really good season so far. You got a chance to turn it into a great one, and bigger picture again, bringing awareness to not just one young lady who obviously deserves it, but to really everyone with special needs, focusing on Down syndrome, of course. The annual Quinn Game, Saturday at 7 o'clock against Mercer here at Stone Stadium. So no pressure, right?
No, a lot going on. It's a big week to focus on this, and we'll get our guys focused on what their job is. And again, I appreciate you having Ivan on the other day, because he is a special guy. And I tell you, there's a lot of student athletes like that here at Furman that have amazing stories, Dan. And you featuring one is great. You should get more guys and girls on, because it's important for your viewers to see what special kids are in Furman, and the special kids that are student athletes at Furman from all the teams. There's some amazing stories within our programs.
Yeah, the best thing about the interview with Ivan was that I refrained from doing my very bad Liverpudlian accent. So he said, "Are you a Liverpool fan?" I said, "No, I'm a Beatles fan."
A Beatles fan. That's good. Yeah, that's good. And you didn't sing either.
No, I did not. It's good to see you, my friend.
You too, Dan. Thank you.
All right, that is Doug Allison. Again, 7 o'clock on Saturday at Stone Stadium here on Furman's campus, the regular season finale with Mercer and the rescheduling of the annual Quinn Game. Please come out and check it out if you can. That'll do it for this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. For Doug, see, Doug right there, and all of us at Furman, I'm Dan Scott, saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.